and welcome to another review room tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about the second tab in the settings section, which is the applications tab. This is when you first start out, you're going to be in the general tab. Just click on the applications tab and you'll end up here. One of the things that I want to show you is that you can change the field that submissions are identified by. For a second, let's change this value. By default, it's going to be user defined title, but let's change it to submission ID, and then I'll press save changes, and then we can see what that actually does. So once my changes are saved, what's going to happen is I'm going to go to my submission section. Let's refresh this page. By the way, this is just manage submissions. Just click on any of the applications groups that you have. And you'll notice that now each one of these submissions is identified by a random string of text and numbers. Essentially, that's what a submission ID is. It's a random string of text or numbers. You can, of course, modify the way it looks, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So depending on how you want to identify your submissions, that's how you should decide what you should put in as the answer to this field. Now, right now, as you can see, reference identifiers are generated randomly. You can also change that, and you can also change the number of digits that it basically has. Right now, what we can do is we can change this to incrementally, for example, and leave the length of the ID to 4. And if I scroll down and press Save Changes, then that particular change will take into effect. So the idea behind that is once you basically have the submission set to incrementally, what's going to happen is any new submission is going to have a random ID that's one higher than the last. Now you'll notice that even though we made that change, these submissions did not change. And the reason for that is these submissions already existed. But if we add in any new submissions, then what you're going to notice is that the new submissions are going to definitely have a new incrementally created ID. So let's go show you what that would look like. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is go to the Manage User section. And when I go to the Manage User section, I'm going to create a new user. And as soon as I create a new user, that user is going to have an application, and we'll see what the ID of that application is. So under Users, I'm going to click on Add Users, and then I'm going to make this a global applicant. I will change the email to some, email, and type in fake information. Press Add User. This user gets created. Now I'm going to close this. And as soon as I do, this is the user that gets created. And you'll notice that even before I assume the role of the user, the submission is by default identified as GA0001. Okay, let's add in one more user just for the sake of demo, and I'll just type in some other fake information. And as soon as I do, when I close this, you're going to see that the next user is also going to have an ID that's one higher than the last. And if you want to verify this, if you do go to Manage Applicants, the global applicants, which is the category under which we were creating these users, you'll see that these two new ones have this ID. Now you may ask yourself the question, well, what about these other ones that don't quite have the ID that I'm looking for? Well, that's no problem. What you can do is actually rename these IDs as well, and that's pretty simple to do. And essentially the way that you can do that is by clicking on any given one. So by clicking on any given one, and then you can go inside that particular user and make the relevant changes. So if I click on that, and then if I scroll down and okay, actually, you know what? I forgot about this option, which is you're not going to be able to change these submission IDs if they're randomly generated. If these were user defined, then you could definitely change them, but the second that they're randomly generated, you won't be able to, or generated by the system, you won't be able to change them. So we're currently stuck with these IDs, so you can't change them. If you do want to change them, go back to the settings, change them to user defined ID, and then you can go back and change them. But there's a lot more to talk about here. Thanks for joining us in this tutorial. We'll talk to you again in the next one.